Welcome back. In this session, we are going to understand the fundamentals of C programming. One could ask a question, why do we have to learn C programming for programming with IoT products or applications? Wherever you go, whichever programming language you use, I think C programming stands as the fundamental stuff there. So it is always better to understand the fundamentals of C programming for you to grow further. In IoT applications, whatever we are developing, whatever interfacing exercises we are performing in this entire video lecture series, we use predominantly C and C++. Hence, this session is very important. After this session, you will be able to clearly understand the fundamentals of C language functions, the loops in C language. Why are loops useful? Because all these are going to be used in the programming, whatever we are going to build. Let's get into programming with C language. Why C language? C language is one of the most efficient programming languages used in today's world. It has been used for a long time. It will still be used in the future as well. The microcontrollers can be programmed with various languages like C++, Java, Pascal, MicroPython, Fortran, etc. C language is intuitive for beginners. It is lightweight, it is fast to compile, and most importantly, it is ideal for programming microcontrollers. Let's go into the introductory learning of C. To write a C code, one should know the functional blocks which are present in the program first. Every C code contains a main function where we are supposed to write the code. Before the main function, we need to initialize all the needed variables that are being used in the program. There are two types of main functions that one can declare using the programming. One is int main, another one is void main. In the type int main, we got to use the return 0 at the end of the program to conform to the coding guidelines. Void main will let you know that there is no return and it is going to be void, hence we need not return anything in this code. Let's see the type of main functions with an example here. In the first half, you can see that I have got include stdio.h. This is the header file part there. Coming to the next line, int main. This int main says that there has to be a return, and that's why we have return 0 as very important line which is included in the piece of code. Here, since it is mentioned as integer, we are returning 0. In the next example that we have shown just below, we have made it void main, hence there is no need to return anything. So no return 0 is used there. Types of loops in C programming. What is a loop? Loop, as the name suggests, it is very much simple and it keeps a process or the execution of the code in repetition until a certain condition is satisfied. There are mainly two types of looping statements that one can use in C programming. Though there are many, these two are prominent. First one is for loop, second one is while loop. Let us discuss these two in detail. The flow diagram for the for loop has to be first discussed, and that is shown in the left hand side of the presentation. After the initialization, the condition will be checked. If the condition is true, there will be increment decrement accordingly, and this will end the loop if the condition is not met. For the while loop, the test condition is first met and then it will go on to the body of the loop. If it is false, it will exit the loop right away. Both are simple and efficient. Initialization of the for loop has to be first discussed, then we will go on to the while loop. The structure of the for loop with the pseudocode is presented in front of you right now. For in the bracket, first initialization, then condition, and then increment or decrement. How does it work? Very simple. Initialization will be done, then condition will be checked. If it is checked and if it is proven right, it will come inside. The statements will be executed, and then the increment or decrement happens. This is to be understood very clearly, and without which the entire programming may go wrong. And the same code has been explained clearly with an example below. Int I is equal to 0. For I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus is the block that we are talking right now. I is initialized with 0 first, then condition will be checked if it is less than n, and if it is proven true, it will come inside. The piece of code will be executed, which is called as statements. Once it is done, it will be incremented by 1. I plus plus will happen. If it is not met, it will exit. Coming to the while loop, while condition statements. Only when the condition is met, the statements will be run. Include stdio.h, int I is equal to 0. If I is less than n, only then the code inside it will be run. So for the for loop, you need to understand it is initialization, condition check, statement run, and increment decrement. But for the while loop, it is condition check and then the statement. Both are very important and both are very effective. How are loops useful? One may ask several questions when you get into the looping. First thing, why do we need to use the loop? What difference does it really make? Why do I need to learn them when I can code it in a normal way? Are loops only restricted to the increment and decrement operations? All the questions are to be answered, but we need an example and code it in order to understand the difference between normal codes and the loop codes. The example problem is to increment a count variable to a certain value. So let us implement the C code for it and analyze the difference pretty clearly. We are going to the next slide where the contrast between the usage of loops and the ordinary C coding is clearly explained. The left is without using a for loop, the right is with using a for loop. Now count is 0. What do I do here is I keep incrementing the count until it reaches 7. When it is 7, I need to come out of the loop and I need to stop the work. That's what is being done. So when I use no loop, I'll have to write it 7 times. You can see that count equal to count plus 1 is written 7 times. But you come to the for loop. In the right hand side, I use a simple loop. I say that for I is equal to 0, I less than 7, I will come in. First time condition is true, count equal to count plus 1. It will go up, I plus plus will happen. Now I is equal to 1. It is still less than 7, count equal to count plus 1 will happen. Likewise, it will automatically increment it until the condition is broken. So the loop will keep it running up and intact until the condition is met, and it will be doing it automatically without you having need to explicitly mention it as you do it in the left hand side. This is the biggest advantage of loops, and it keeps the job of the programmer very light. One can infer in the looping statements that the readability of the code is highly increased. The efficient usage of memory is there. We are not writing so many lines of code. Hence, when you compile it, it becomes binary. Once it becomes binary, it has to be stored. So the amount of space needed for storing a longer code is definitely much troublesome than storing a shorter code. So when you use loops, it becomes lighter. For loops are not only used for just increment and decrement, they can also be used to access the elements present in any array. To access all the elements in an array, we can initialize a for loop at the starting position and the array can be accessed easily. How do we do it? A very simple example is presented in front of you. For I equal to front, I less than rear, I plus plus, printf I. So what do I do now? I keep reading one element after another from the front and it prints all the elements in the array quite nicely. This is one of the applications of the for loop which you can easily recognize. And now let us conclude this quick session. C is considered a low level language compared to other high level languages like Java, Python. Even though C compiler is the basis of construction of many high level language compilers, it has some limitations. There is no runtime checking possible in C language. As the program grows bigger, it would be very difficult for a novice programmer to fix the bugs. C does not have the concept of constructors and destructors, which is supported in most of the object-oriented programming languages. It does not support the concept of objects, hence it could not support the polymorphism, data hiding, etc., which are adding a lot of luxury in terms of programming. In order to overcome the limitations of C, the C++ language was developed and it solves most of the problems and limitations that C faces. Many projects like folder protection, stack operations, analog clock creation, all these are done, and you can refer the website codewithc.com/category/projects/c-projects to build more on your own. Thank you very much.